Sometimes fate works in the most mysterious ways, and sometimes the most important discoveries happen in the most unlikely places. What I'm about to tell you is a story about hope, persistence, and how a mother's love can transcend time and distance in ways that seem almost supernatural. This is the incredible true story of how a single photograph, found in a dusty box at a Phoenix flea market, became the key that unlocked a 10-year mystery and reunited a family that had been torn apart by one of every parent's worst nightmares. The story begins in the summer of 2013, in a small suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, where 32-year-old Linda Vasquez was living what she thought was a perfect life with her 5-year-old daughter, Sophia. Linda was a single mother who worked as a dental hygienist during the day and took online college courses at night, determined to build a better future for herself and her daughter. Sophia was everything to Linda, a bright, curious little girl with enormous brown eyes and a smile that could light up any room she entered. She loved drawing pictures, playing with her dolls, and helping her mother cook dinner in their small but cozy apartment. Despite the challenges of single parenthood, Linda and Sophia had created a happy, stable life together. Linda's ex-husband, Sophia's father, had left when Sophia was just 2 years old and had never shown any interest in maintaining a relationship with his daughter. While this was painful for Linda, she had adapted to life as a single parent and had created a strong support network of friends, family, and neighbors who helped her care for Sophia. On July 15, 2013, Linda and Sophia were spending a typical Saturday afternoon at Steele Indian School Park, a large public park in central Phoenix where they often went to play and have picnics. It was a hot but beautiful day, and the park was filled with families enjoying the weekend. Linda had brought a book to read while Sophia played on the playground equipment. The playground was well designed with good sight lines, and Linda had a clear view of all the areas where Sophia might go. She had always been a careful, protective mother, but she also wanted Sophia to have the freedom to play and explore like other children. At around 3 p.m., Sophia was playing on the swings while Linda sat on a nearby bench, glancing up from her book every few minutes to check on her daughter. The playground was busy but not crowded, with perhaps a dozen other children and their parents scattered throughout the area. At 3:15 p.m., Linda looked up from her book to check on Sophia and felt her heart stop. The swing where Sophia had been playing just moments before was empty, moving gently in the breeze. "Sophia!" Linda called out, immediately standing up and scanning the playground. "Sophia, where are you?" Linda's voice carried the edge of panic that every parent recognizes, the sound of someone who has just realized their child is not where they should be. Other parents in the area began looking around as well, understanding immediately what was happening. "Did anyone see where the little girl in the pink dress went?" Linda asked frantically, approaching other parents and children in the playground area. Several people remembered seeing Sophia on the swings, but no one had noticed her leaving the playground or seen which direction she might have gone. Linda searched every inch of the park, calling Sophia's name and asking everyone she encountered if they had seen her daughter. Within 30 minutes, she had called 911, and Phoenix police officers began arriving at the scene. The initial search of Steele Indian School Park was thorough and immediate. Officers interviewed everyone present, searched all buildings and facilities, and expanded their search to include the surrounding neighborhoods. They brought in tracking dogs and helicopter support, treating the case as a potential abduction from the very beginning. But despite their best efforts, no trace of Sophia Vasquez was found. The investigation that followed was extensive and heartbreaking. Police interviewed Linda multiple times, examined her background and relationships, and investigated every possible lead. They reviewed security cameras from nearby businesses, conducted door-to-door searches in the surrounding area, and issued Amber Alerts throughout Arizona and neighboring states. Linda cooperated fully with the investigation, even though she sometimes felt like police were treating her as a suspect rather than a victim. She understood that statistically, parents were often involved in their children's disappearances, but it was still painful to be questioned about her whereabouts and her relationship with Sophia when all she wanted was to find her daughter. The media coverage of Sophia's disappearance was extensive. Her photo appeared on news broadcasts throughout the Southwest, and Linda made numerous appearances on television programs pleading for information about her daughter's whereabouts. "She's just a little girl," Linda said through tears during one particularly difficult interview. "She needs her mommy. If someone has her, please just bring her home. I won't ask any questions. I just want my baby back." But weeks turned to months, and months turned to years, with no credible leads or sightings of Sofia Vasquez. Linda's life became consumed by the search for her daughter. She quit her job to dedicate herself full-time to the investigation, living off savings and help from family members. She worked with private investigators, missing children organizations, and anyone else who might be able to help find Sofia. She never moved from her apartment, keeping Sofia's room exactly as her daughter had left it, hoping that someday Sofia would come home and everything would be waiting for her. Linda celebrated Sofia's birthday every year, buying presents that accumulated in her daughter's bedroom like offerings to hope itself. The emotional toll was enormous. Linda struggled with depression, anxiety, and the particular kind of grief that comes from not knowing whether your child is alive or dead. Well-meaning friends and family members sometimes suggested that she needed to move on or accept reality, but Linda couldn't imagine giving up the search for Sofia. "People don't understand," Linda explained to a support group for parents of missing children. "Until I know what happened to her, until I know she's safe or until I know she's not coming home, I can't stop looking. She's my daughter. This is what mothers do." By 2020, 7 years after Sofia's disappearance, the case had grown cold. Police continued to follow up on occasional tips, but there were no active leads and no new evidence. Linda had been forced to return to work to support herself, but she continued her search efforts on weekends and evenings. Linda had also developed some unusual habits that friends and family found concerning but understandable. She would visit every flea market, garage sale, and thrift store in the Phoenix area, looking through old photographs and personal items, hoping to find some clue about what had happened to Sofia. Most of the time, these searches yielded nothing. But occasionally, Linda would find children's items that reminded her of Sofia, a dress similar to one her daughter had owned, a toy that looked familiar, a photograph of a little girl who resembled Sofia from a distance. These discoveries were both hopeful and heartbreaking, giving Linda momentary excitement followed by the inevitable disappointment when the items turned out to have no connection to her missing daughter. But on March 6, 2023, nearly 10 years after Sofia's disappearance, Linda's weekly search routine would finally pay off in a way she had never imagined possible. Linda was visiting the Broadacre City Flea Market, a large weekend market on the outskirts of Phoenix that attracted vendors and shoppers from throughout Arizona. She had been there many times before, working her way systematically through booths that sold vintage items, antiques, and personal belongings. At around 11 a.m., Linda stopped at a booth run by an elderly woman named Eleanor Martinez, who specialized in selling estate sale items, furniture, photographs, books, and personal effects from families who were downsizing or dealing with inheritance situations. "Feel free to look through everything," Eleanor told Linda. "I just got a big collection from an estate sale in Scottsdale. Lots of family photos and personal items." Linda began her usual careful examination of the photographs, looking through boxes of family pictures, school photos, and vacation snapshots that had belonged to strangers. Most of the photos were from the 1980s and 1990s, showing families, weddings, birthdays, and other milestone events. But in the third box she examined, Linda found something that made her hands shake. It was a professional photograph, the kind taken at a portrait studio, showing a family of 4, a man, a woman, and 2 children. The photo appeared to have been taken recently, based on the clothing styles and image quality. The man and woman were strangers to Linda, but one of the children in the photograph was unmistakably Sofia. Linda stared at the photograph, unable to believe what she was seeing. The girl in the picture was older than Sofia had been when she disappeared, probably around 13 or 14 years old, but her features were identical. The same enormous brown eyes, the same smile, the same distinctive dimple in her left cheek that Sofia had inherited from Linda's mother. "Excuse me," Linda said to Eleanor, her voice barely steady. "This photograph, where did you get it?" Eleanor looked at the picture Linda was holding. "Oh, that's from the Hendersons' estate sale. Nice family, but the parents passed away in a car accident last month. Their adult children were selling off personal belongings they couldn't keep. Do you know anything about the family in this photo?" Linda asked. Eleanor examined the picture more closely. "I think those are the Hendersons' adopted children. I remember the estate sale coordinator mentioning that Mr. and Mrs. Henderson had adopted several children over the years." "Why do you ask?" Linda's heart was racing. I think one of these children might be my daughter. She was kidnapped 10 years ago." Eleanor's expression changed immediately from casual interest to serious concern. "Oh my goodness. Are you sure?" Linda showed Eleanor several photos of Sophia from her wallet, pictures that she always carried with her. The resemblance between 5-year-old Sophia and the teenage girl in the estate sale photograph was undeniable. "You need to call the police immediately," Eleanor said. "I still have the contact information for the Henderson estate sale." Linda purchased the photograph and immediately drove to the Phoenix Police Department, where she requested to speak with Detective Maria Santos, who had taken over Sophia's case 3 years earlier when the original investigating officers had retired. Detective Santos examined the photograph carefully, comparing it to images of Sophia from the original case file. The resemblance was striking, but Santos warned Linda that physical similarity wasn't proof of identity. "We've had false leads before based on resemblances," Detective Santos explained gently. "But this is certainly worth investigating. We'll contact the Henderson family and see what we can learn about their adoption history." The investigation that followed moved quickly. Within 48 hours, Detective Santos had contacted the Henderson family's adult children and learned that Robert and Susan Henderson had indeed adopted several children over the years, including a girl named Anna, who had come to live with them in late 2013. According to the Henderson family, Anna had been placed with them through a private adoption agency that specialized in placing children who had been removed from unstable family situations. The paperwork showed that Anna was 6 years old when she was adopted, which matched the timeline of Sophia's disappearance. More importantly, the Henderson family still had contact information for Anna, who was now 15 years old and living with relatives after her adoptive parents' death. Detective Santos arranged for a meeting with Anna and her current guardians, Linda's heart pounding with a mixture of hope and terror as they drove to the family's home in Scottsdale. When Anna opened the door, Linda had no doubt that she was looking at her daughter. Sophia had grown into a beautiful teenager, but her fundamental features were unchanged. She was taller, of course, and her hair was styled differently, but her eyes, her smile, and her overall presence were unmistakably those of the little girl who had disappeared from the playground 10 years earlier. But Anna showed no recognition when she saw Linda. "This is my mom," Linda said softly, tears streaming down her face. "Do you remember me at all?" Anna looked confused and a little frightened. "I'm sorry, but I don't know you," she said politely. "I think there's been some mistake." The conversation that followed was facilitated by Detective Santos and a child psychologist who specialized in cases involving missing children. Anna explained that she had no memories of her life before being adopted by the Hendersons when she was 6 years old. "Mom and Dad always told me that my birth parents couldn't take care of me and that I was placed for adoption through proper legal channels," Anna said. "They said my early childhood was traumatic and that it was normal for me to not remember much from before I came to live with them." DNA testing confirmed what Linda already knew in her heart. Anna was indeed Sofia Vasquez, the daughter who had been stolen from her 10 years earlier. The investigation into how Sophia had ended up with the Henderson family revealed a complex illegal adoption scheme that had been operating in Arizona for over a decade. Robert and Susan Henderson, who had genuinely believed they were helping children in need, had unknowingly adopted several kidnapped children through a network of criminals who specialized in child trafficking. The adoption agency that had placed Sophia with the Hendersons had used forged documents and false histories to make kidnapped children appear to be legitimate adoptees. The Hendersons, who were never charged with any crimes, had been victims of the scheme just as much as the children and their original families. The reunion between Linda and Sophia was both joyful and complicated. Sophia had lived with the Henderson family for nearly her entire conscious life, and they were the only parents she remembered. She had loved them deeply and was still grieving their recent death. "I don't doubt that you're my birth mother," Sophia told Linda during one of their early conversations. "The DNA test proves that. But I don't remember you, and the people I considered my parents are gone. I don't know how to feel about any of this." The process of rebuilding their relationship required extensive counseling and patience from both Linda and Sophia. Linda had to accept that the daughter who had been returned to her was not the same little girl who had been taken, and Sophia had to process the reality that her entire understanding of her origins had been based on lies. "It's like meeting a stranger who happens to share your DNA," Sophia explained to a therapist. "I want to have a relationship with Linda, but I can't just flip a switch and suddenly feel like her daughter again." Linda, for her part, struggled with conflicting emotions. She was grateful beyond words to have found Sophia alive and healthy, but she also grieved for the 10 years of her daughter's childhood that had been stolen from both of them. "I missed everything," Linda said through tears. Her first day of school, learning to ride a bike, Christmas mornings, bedtime stories. "I can't get those years back." But slowly, carefully, Linda and Sophia began to build a new relationship. They started with regular visits and phone calls, gradually increasing their contact as Sophia became more comfortable. Linda learned about Sophia's interests, her friends, her academic achievements, and her dreams for the future. Sophia learned about her early childhood, her extended family, and the decade-long search that had never ended. She was particularly moved by seeing her childhood bedroom, which Linda had preserved exactly as Sophia had left it. "I can't remember living here," Sophia said as she looked through her old toys and clothes. "But I can feel that I was loved here." Over time, Sophia decided to reclaim her original name while keeping the surname Henderson in honor of the parents who had raised her with love and kindness. She legally became Sophia Henderson Vasquez, honoring both parts of her identity. The criminal network responsible for Sophia's kidnapping and illegal adoption was eventually dismantled, leading to the rescue of several other children and the reunion of multiple families. The case became a landmark investigation that led to significant reforms in adoption procedures and background checks. Today, Sophia is 20 years old and attending college, where she's studying social work with the goal of helping other children who have been separated from their families. She maintains relationships with both her birth family and the relatives of her adoptive parents. Linda has become an advocate for missing children and frequently speaks about the importance of never giving up hope. She continues to visit flea markets and secondhand stores, but now she's looking for items that might help other families find their missing loved ones. "That photograph saved my daughter's life," Linda reflected in a recent interview. "If I hadn't been at that exact flea market on that exact day, if I hadn't looked through that exact box of pictures, Sophia and I might never have found each other." The relationship between Linda and Sophia continues to evolve and strengthen. They speak regularly, celebrate holidays together, and have built the foundation for a lifelong connection that transcends the years they lost. "I may not remember being Linda's little girl," Sophia said, "but I'm proud to be her daughter now. She never stopped looking for me, and that kind of love is something I want to honor for the rest of my life." The story of Sophia's disappearance and reunion serves as a reminder that sometimes the most important discoveries happen in the most unexpected places, and that a mother's love really can overcome impossible odds. Sometimes fate hides the answers we're looking for in dusty boxes at flea markets, waiting for the right moment and the right person to find them. And sometimes, after 10 years of searching, hope really can lead us home. Don't forget to like the videos and subscribe to the channel for more short stories.